Rockstar Games is synonymous with some of the most prestigious milestones in the gaming industry. They pioneered the open world genre as we know it today, imminently grossed $1 billion in sales with the release of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Has there been an opening like this in the entertainment industry? This week, Grand Theft Auto 5 pulled in $1 billion in sales in 3 days. No movie or music release has ever come close to that.
It's a video game that is shattering sales records.
That is to say the least. There's a good chance the teenage gamers in your house may be, well, playing it as we speak.
You know, Michelle Rowland, the game made almost $1 billion in sales in just the first 24 hours. Places here in the Valley sold out.
Would go on to become the best-selling entertainment product in history. The strides Rockstar has made in the industry has garnered them a level of respect that other AAA developers can only dream about. But with every outing, Rockstar is looking to make a generation-defining statement. And with the standards getting so ridiculously high, is it realistically plausible for us to continue expecting this level of quality, pressure, and delivery out of Rockstar every single time?
Whoa now. Oh no. Hey now.
What you just witnessed is one of the most frequently referenced details of Red Dead Redemption 2. You see, in the fall of 2018, the work of at least 10 global Rockstar Games studios in around 7 years of total development time produced one of the greatest open worlds that gaming has ever seen, and what most would consider to be Rockstar's magnum opus. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a tale of the Old West. It's the last of a bygone era. And as the Vanderlyn gang travels across the American frontier, robbing banks, trains, and everything they can find in hopes to escape the law, there's ample opportunities for the player to slow down and be absorbed by the amount of details and interactivity baked into this open world. One of these details, most notably, the aforementioned horse testicles shrinking in cold weather. The novelty of this detail has stuck since release. It's something people will frequently bring up as a testament to look at the lengths that Rockstar goes to polish their deeply rich and painstakingly detailed open worlds. This subject is something that has been discussed more candidly around the release of the game. A few days out from the official release of the game, co-studio head at Rockstar North, Rob Nelson, sits down to discuss the philosophy behind game design at Rockstar.
Rockstar is famous for creating games with open worlds. What's new in Red Dead Redemption 2's open world?
For us, the biggest game that we've ever made, not just going bigger and broader, but striving for a depth, being able to go into more environments. And when you go into those environments, be able to pick up and interact with things and be able to interact with people and interact with animals and interact with the world in a way that we haven't been able to do before. If we were trying to create a world that you believe in, a character that you believe in, you have to have that connection. And so we're always trying to push, I think, with every game to go deeper with that, with that sort of idea.
Nelson goes on to describe what this means for Rockstar as a studio. Going bigger was simply not enough. They wanted to pack substance into that larger scale. Historically, game studios promising more was enough to capture, at the very least, the attention of potential buyers. Take Starfield, for example. The prospect of traveling to thousands of planets that inhabit different life forms and materials that you could take back to your outpost to study sounds very cool until you realize that the 1,000+ planets in question are procedurally generated. These are not handcrafted environments that people are spending lots of time figuring out how to make interesting, that the player would actually want to go and visit all these 1,000 planets. And just to be clear, procedural generation generation is not a flaw on its own. Of course, games like Deep Rock and Minecraft use systems like that to curate their environments. The idea of procedural generation is not to replace handcrafted environments, it's to alleviate a lot of the effort that goes into them by giving the technology a set of rules to follow as it fills out the space. Bethesda is well known for their worlds having lots of little details and places that you can go explore that end up telling entirely new stories that you otherwise wouldn't have known just by following the main quest line. The reason people are so excited for Grand Theft Auto 6 is because they've seen what the potential can include with Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 1 was not exactly the prerequisite to the kind of gameplay direction that Red Dead Redemption 2 would have. Of course, the same concept, a slower, more realistic and serious take on an otherwise open world, not crime simulator, but action adventure video game, is present in both Red Dead Redemption games. But if Red Dead Redemption 2 was Red Dead Redemption 1 with better animations and significantly better visuals than Grand Theft Auto 5, then I'm sure most people wouldn't really have batted an eye. Even Honor in the first Red Dead Redemption, at least in comparison, was somewhat trivial. Shops would close and payouts would differ, but in Red Dead Redemption 2, people remember your actions. When you do things and you return back to towns, they know who you are. And if you wear a mask, they'll question your identity and why you're walking around with a concealed face. There's a situation that I specifically remember from my first playthrough. I decided to help an NPC out in the bios who had a snake bite. Upon curing him, he was expressing his gratitude, and as you exchange some words, you continue to go on about your way as they do theirs, until you decide to stop back into the town for some supplies, and you find the man sitting in front of one of the shops, claiming, "That's the man that saved my life. Get him something free from this store." When Rockstar is saying that they're going all out, and they're showing that they're going all out with the 6 major areas, likely with a lot of ambient events, small towns, activities, and mysteries to discover in between, we're likely to see a vast leap in customization over previous GTA games, just going off of what Red Dead Redemption 2 gave us. A gameplay overhaul is essentially guaranteed, as they're going to be using presumably the 9th iteration of their in-house Rage engine. That same engine overhaul is going to be bringing lots of visual upgrades as well. We're going to be seeing ray tracing for the first time, path tracing, some of the most detailed texture quality we've ever gotten in terms of NPCs, guns, cars, environments. The return of volumetric clouds from Red Dead Redemption 2, now topped with dynamic weather. For the first time in video game history, it's reported that Take-Two has apparently spent $300 million alone on real-time simulated water physics. I'm not exactly game development savvy enough to understand what this means, but if I had to guess, water in video games is typically modeled into one giant mesh that they slap a texture over, and regardless of what interacts with the water, it has essentially the same physical displacements between car, truck, plane, character, animal, etc. And I'm assuming this means that the water will now interpret the weight and volume of assets uniquely depending on the parameters and how it interacts with it. So essentially what I'm communicating here is that the standard Rockstar Games is trying to surpass, with having already made one of the greatest open world games of all time, and some would consider it to be the greatest open world game of all time, seems like an almost impossible task to those of us who have been anticipating this game for so long. But the caveat is that even if they do meet that standard, and for a lot of people, I believe that standard will be exceeded, for others, it won't. Because the game has had so much time in the oven, inevitably there are some people whose expectations just will not be met regardless of whatever comes out on November 19th. And frankly, I believe this will only get worse as the hardware gets better, because the opportunity for Rockstar to tell a story over these gigantic open worlds that are packed to the brim with interactivity, details, activities for players to do, and things for them to discover is something that only they have the opportunity to do. Other developers have not necessarily been able to measure up to this standard because they do not have the ability to measure up to this standard. It's not because they haven't tried or because they don't want to, it's because they physically cannot. And I know I'm going to go off into a tangent here, so I'm going to save it for a separate video, but the standards that Rockstar is going to set for the industry will probably not be met until they decide to come out with something on the same caliber of GTA 6 15 to 20 years from now. And that is precisely why GTA 6 will never be enough. 2 to 3 years from now, we'll be saying, well, what can they do with the PS6? Hell, I've been seeing talk about the PS6 a lot more recently, since it's already coming up on 6 years since the release of the 9th generation consoles. In fact, on the day that GTA 6 launches, that would be 6 years to the day that ninth-gen consoles officially release worldwide. And the discussion is eventually going to turn into, well, why can't we have every GTA location remade from the ground up in one large playable area, all with their unique character and tone, but equal level detailed side quest lines, activities, and interiors? I mean, just look at what they were able to do with GTA 6, and that was only on the PS5. Surely it can't be that hard. And like what's already happening with Leslie Benzie's game, Watch Dogs, which is basically no longer making new entries anymore, Saints Row, which has effectively died, and somehow a game like Cyberpunk 2077, which is something that doesn't even exactly play like GTA at all, except for the fact they both have cars and guns in them. Anything where you can walk around freely that is not a Rockstar caliber experience is going to be compared to GTA 6 top to bottom, like has been done with Red Dead Redemption 2 over the past 8 years. And just thinking about Rockstar's history and culture of excessive crunch to meet significant checkpoints at later stages of development, I can imagine that by raising the bar higher and higher and continuing at this cadence of releasing one major hit per generation, the standard is eventually going to become so ridiculously high that anything short of the potential greatest video game of all time is simply not going to be enough. Thank you for watching.